From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, the age-old question. Is it the players or is it the coaches? We try to answer. A divisive quarterback and the transfer portal. Where do we fall on that? And we're generating discussion sparked by Cummins. Lots of questions about the offensive coordinator position. Lots. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Promo code WarchantBOGO. Warchant. B-O-G-O. In my hands, I hold, Corey, a bottle of Vitamin Energy Workout Plus. Energizes up to 7+ hours. Nourishes the body with vitamins and nutrients. And also is a fat burner. Supports weight loss, everybody. Tastes great, too. It says right there on the packaging. And since it's the sour apple flavor, it's legit. Tastes fantastic. Citrulline, natural caffeine, beta-alanine, L-arginine, carnitine. My buddy Mike keeps telling me I pronounce it wrong. I should have had it figured out by this time. But all these things that you'd find out in a pre-workout mix, Corey. The stuff that gives you like a pump, if you will. Why swill around a 10-ounce pre-workout drink when you can just have a shot of Vitamin Energy? You know? Do it, everybody.
Great question. Great question. You wouldn't. A normal person wouldn't. They'd just take the Vitamin Energy shot.
Yeah. So go to VitaminEnergy.com. Use the promo code WarchantBOGO. Buy one, get one free. Shake it and take it. It's a good stocking stuffer, just saying. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. No promo code over there. Just go ahead and sign up. You'll get a week of access for $1, and then it will roll over into an annual membership at 50% off, everybody. And just think about what things are going to look like around here in a year from now, how awesome it's going to be. You don't want to miss out. War Room up and running over on the Tribal Council. You have to be a member to access that stuff. Also, we ask that you don't share any of this on social media. So if that's my job, by the way, everybody, I will search various social media platforms to see who's copying and pasting and sending screenshots of our stuff. And then we send it to Elon, and then he's going to send a cease and desist to you, and then your life's ruined.
Yeah.
So don't do it. Don't do it. Just subscribe. It's 50% off. It's $1 for a week. Chill out. It's going to be all right. What's up, Corey Clark?
What's up, buddy? How are you doing? You doing all right?
Yeah, man, I think I'm getting over this cold or whatever I brought back with me from Chicago, South Bend, wherever I was, exposed to this cold or whatever. But I'm doing all right. How about you, man?
I'm good. Hey, you know what, Aslan? Thanks for asking. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm hanging in there, waiting to get my car back. Pretty excited about that.
Is Brady driving you around in the meantime?
No. So, like, Brady goes to school in the car that is my car. It's like, man, I mean, it's for him, but, I'm paying for it. It's in my name.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could make him drive the bus, or ride the bus, not drive it. Or I could get up and drive him to school, so then I have a car to drive around all day. And I'm like, well, who wants to do that? I'm not getting up at 6:30 in the morning. I'm not in high school anymore. So I just hang out at the house till Brady gets home from school. And then I have a car.
Oh, cool. So you're letting him drive his car. All right. Or your car.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
I was about to say,
car. I'm letting him drive our car.
I was saying, if Dad was like, hey, take the bus, boy. I need the car back. That you might get the best dad in the world coffee mug.
I definitely think I'm going to get a better Christmas gift because of this. Okay. So that's always good.
All right. Well, we're hoping for Christmas. Top-notch coordinators. Lots of questions about that stuff. But we begin here in the Renegade Express mailbag. Right off the rip, first question comes from our guy, Big B7034. Fellas, it's been a minute. Wake up. I've always been a believer that any good football team, more specifically any good offense, starts up front. He believes the offensive line began going downhill in 23, losing Bless, Rob getting hurt, made the team reshuffle the development of younger dudes. Darius goes from being a utility piece to a mandatory starter. Byers has been mediocre at best. And all the misses on the recruiting trail after 22 culminate in what we have now. To fix this team, the O-line has to be the one thing that is addressed. As always, keep up the good work and go Noles. So not a question, a statement to start us off, Corey.
Yeah. How are we supposed to respond to that?
Yeah. Well, hey.
We agree?
Yeah. We'll pivot to that, and we'll go to something that we're going to package together from our guy Mark down in Naples, as well as our guy Noel for Life, class of 2007. Two things from Mark. We'll get to the second part after we package these things. But the Castellanos stuff from the live show yesterday, Corey, I don't want to say drew the ire, but got some pushback from people on the socials, if you will. Mark's asking thoughts on Castellanos in the portal. I suppose if Mike were to hire the OC from UNLV, Brennan Marion, and installs his go-go offense, it could be a great fit. But didn't we see that before when Taggart brought in Browse to run a fast offense with no playbook in order to spark the offense? Maybe not the best comparison. Feels like a gimmick. Noel for Life says, Castellanos? Really? What am I missing? We didn't want the dude as a quarterback before. Now he leaves unceremoniously from Boston College. The Jordan Travis comparisons needs to stop because he's not nearly as good of a passer. Can we not do better than him? I feel like we're desperate for a resolution, but we need to get a coordinator hired before we start goo-goo gagaing over a transfer quarterback.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that last one is in reference to me, right? Like I would hardly say that we've been goo-goo gagaing over Castellanos, and I never compared him to Jordan Travis.
There's others. I think it's not just you, man. I think a lot of people. I think it's an appealing option, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one look, he's not an NFL quarterback. You kind of see what his ceiling is. It's not exceptional, but it's. It depends. Number one, can you get a better one? I don't know. We'll see what the portal looks like. I mean, I don't think he's not going to be pursued by other good schools. By the way, I got an email in my inbox from somebody I don't know that works, I think, PR for like MassachusettsBetting.com. And the Noles are the early favorite to land Castellanos.
Wow.
They're like plus 700, or maybe plus 500, and Miami is plus 700.
Ooh.
And then Alabama's in the mix. Now, I don't know if Castellanos is an Alabama target. I don't know what kind of I don't know how big that name rings out across the country, but he certainly does in Tallahassee because of the way he played against them the last 2 years. But, yeah, obviously OC, you're going to have an OC in place before you figure out who your quarterback's going to be. And maybe whoever you bring in as OC already has a quarterback in mind, maybe loves these two guys that are already here. We don't know. But, I would say Castellanos is certainly in play because, look, man, we can say I don't get it. He's accounted for whatever I said last year, 47 touchdowns in the last 2 years. 19 this year, I think 28 last year. He ran for 13 and 1,100 yards last year. And it has 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions this year. So there's some stuff to like about him. He's not great, but he might be better than the two guys you got. Certainly in 2025, I would say there's a good chance Castellanos is better than either one of these guys will be next year because, as we lamented in yesterday's show, they're not getting a lot of great experience. They are getting a ton of experience, but not buildable experience, I don't think. It's like I don't know what Luke Kromenhoek learned. How did Luke Kromenhoek improve at all? Like one iota from what happened in Notre Dame. Did that make him a better football player?
Don't think so, Corey. I don't
either. I think, if anything, it made him worse. I think what's going on now with that offensive line, with the way he looks at the rush, he is making himself nothing is getting better. And maybe a new quarterback coach, certainly a new offensive line, new coordinator, all that can change, and Kromenhoek can fly with the Eagles. Or fly with the Hawks. I guess that would make more sense. But right now, I don't know what that kid is. We know what Castellanos is. He's a decent college quarterback. We think because they're Florida State guys and they came in with stars next to their names that Kromenhoek and Brock Glenn are going to be good college quarterbacks. We have no idea. None. This guy's at least decent. So that's why he is appealing. But, the one thing that I think about, because I thought about Castellanos when I got that email, it's like, man, he quit on his team. Not a huge fan of that. Like, oh, man, you got benched? Oh, that sucks. So you're just gone? The guys you've been in the locker room with and been in the weight room with and been going to class and playing games and sweating together and bleeding together for the last 2 years, your feelings get hurt because you get benched and you just quit? What if the guy that replaced you breaks his ankle on the first play of the game? Now Boston College is down to their third-string quarterback because your feelings got – like, I'm not a big fan of that. But, hey, if the price is right and he wants to come, maybe I'll become a fan of it. We'll see.
Seminoles 740. Right to it he gets. What do you feel has led to this season's disappointment, coaching or players?
Oh, I mean, obviously it's not one or the other.
Well, I do find it interesting that there's a lot of – it's crazy. I wonder what if we did like a straw poll on Mike Norvell's approval rating, where it would be right now. But there's still a contingent of people that will get into every thread and defend Mike's honor, which is like adorable, but at the same time a little bit annoying. And a lot of it's like, hey man, he didn't forget how to coach overnight. And it's like, well, I guess Adam Fuller and Alex Atkins did though, because they got let go. Their problems, they're beyond repair. But like, we're going to hold down the fort here with Mike. So I feel like less of that needs to be said and more of it needs to be kind of looked inward. And I don't think this roster is all that great, Corey. I know we'll disagree on this and we'll see how it
No, we won't. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I think you say you think there's a lot of, I don't know a lot, but you think there's numerous NFL players on this roster. Like, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I just don't think this is a good roster. You don't get run through by Phil Maffa and whoever the running back is from Duke. And, Damian Martinez is a good running back, but like, these certain situations happen in these games with these the defenders where like, I don't think Adam Fuller or Odell is calling, the Red Sea defense where it's like, all right, everyone just move away. Leave the A-gap wide open. I think guys aren't able to physically manhandle their assignments the way that we hope they would be able to. Clearly on offense, these receivers are not anything even beyond average. The quarterback play has been dismal. This offensive line play, the offensive linemen are, I don't think Alex Atkins, as much times we've watched him at practice, I don't think he teaches guys to, take a step in the wrong direction and then fall over themselves. So at a certain point here, it's both. It is both. I'm not discounting both here, but for some reason we always seem to protect student athletes over coaches, and I get it. They're making a lot more money than the players, but man, there's a reason why Jimbo won a bunch of games and Nick wins a bunch of games. It's not so much because they're just some sort of magic elixir. They had a bunch of good dudes. And
I
don't
like
think
that you put Jimbo ahead of Saban. I like it, Aslan.
Prior to,
it's on brand.
Alphabetizing. We're going alphabetical order. Sure. But, it's people are kind of weaponizing it against Norvell. Like, well, so what? The only way he's going to win a bunch of games if he has an awesome quarterback and an NFL wide receiver and an NFL defense? Yeah, that's everybody. Washington made it to the playoff last year. All their important players, they're in the NFL right now. All the important players that were on Alabama's team are still either on the roster helping them be in the playoff mix now or in the NFL. Kirby keeps winning all these games because he has an NFL caliber coordinator and a bunch of NFL caliber players. You need awesome dudes. You have not recruited well at all. You went into the portal all in and you whiffed on everybody, and that's why you're 1-9. Ugh.
I would say all that is, I agree with it. Again, I think where we differ is who you compare Florida State to when you're trying to make these. Not trying to, when you're making these statements. They certainly don't have the roster of Georgia or Alabama or whoever you want to put out there, Clemson even. But you look at this. My biggest problem with because I'm not saying they have a national championship roster. In fact, I don't think I said that at the beginning of the year before we knew this debacle was coming. They have as good a roster as almost everybody they played, man. Like, they don't have worse players than Boston College. You cannot convince me of that. They don't have worse players than Memphis or Georgia Tech or Duke or North Carolina or SMU. Now, obviously, SMU has some better pieces at important positions, but overall, when you're looking at the 1-85 on the roster, I would dare say Florida State has more talent from top to bottom, or at least equal, even if I'm overselling the actual talent. It's equal to those teams. So, yes, the players aren't great. This is not a national championship roster. It's also not a 1-9 roster. So that's where I think it's both. Yes, this team could never have won a national championship, couldn't have gotten to the playoff. There's not enough talent there in hindsight. But is it a 1-9 roster? Is this the same roster as like Kent State and Air Force in Houston? Like I don't think there's no way that's accurate. So the players aren't good enough to win a national championship. This roster is good enough to win 7 games this year. This roster is good enough to have the kind of season that flipping Pitt and Georgia Tech are having. Instead, it's 1-9. That's the coaching. That's where I say the coaching comes into play. The players not being great, obviously, but you can still win games with a little bit better than average talent. You just can. It happens every week, man. Happens every week, except in Tallahassee where they lose to everyone they play. That's all. You see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, no, well said. It is both, but I just think for some reason we always, everyone gets in their corner and starts defending whomever. Like they've got a favorite player. They're almost bigger fan of the head coach than they are the actual football program.
I would have thought. I would have thought most fans put a lot of blame on both. Like I think most fans can look at this roster and be like, yeah, this isn't the 13 team. This is not a great collection of football players. But also at the same time go, okay, but they're probably not this bad either. As I've said with the offensive line, this is not the worst collection of offensive linemen in the country. There are teams that are running out 280-pound guys. There are guys that are freshmen, and they produce better than this offensive line. So it's not this is not, again, an incredible bunch, but it's not a laughably bad talent-wise offensive line. They've just been coached and developed horribly. Or they have not worked hard enough to get better, if you want to put the onus on the players. I'm cool either way. But they have not improved the way that a lot of other college offensive linemen improve. None of them, apparently.
It's just
any of them.
If this ever happens anywhere else ever again, I would be shocked if it's because if they have the same coaching staff. Like if some team in 2049 goes 13 and whatever, and then the next season ends up going 2 and whatever, I almost can guarantee you it's going to be because they lost a bunch of the coaches. It's just, the fact.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is absolutely insane, Aslan. You're right. This is unprecedented. Not just the record, but that there wasn't some mass upheaval. Yeah, it's
other than
crazy.
The players, other than a bunch of 10 guys going to the NFL, and you're not replacing them with anything a reasonable facsimile, as Jeff Cameron likes to say.
Well, right, but that's on the coaches too, right?
Yeah.
Figure out better players to bring in.
Yeah, no, I'll go with that. Yeah, for sure. In terms of evaluating, and I don't even want to say developing because I don't know. Like, listen, if they're going to get a new offensive coordinator. Clearly, obviously, let's say, if Hakeem ends up going off for like 55 catches for 700 yards next year, is that going to be because this guy developed him? Did he develop the new receivers coach? Did he give Hakeem new pointers on how to get out of his breaks quicker? That's why he's catching 55 passes? Or is it because he's going to have an offensive line that blocks better and a quarterback that throws the ball better, and you're sequencing plays in a fashion that gets guys open more often?
I don't think it's just binary. I don't think it's black or white or one or the other. Like, I think if receivers coach don't make anybody better, if their job is to just bring in players, then what are they even doing at practice? Like, you are allowed to help your players out. To get them to block would be wonderful. To teach them how to block in a way that we see happen against Florida State every week. But when Florida State runs the plays out wide, they always get blown up. That can be taught. That's not just a talent thing. That's a will and that's a coaching execution thing. Again, onus on the players too. Have some flipping pride. But also that, yes, I think receivers coaches can make differences. I think they can give you little hints and tricks of the trade or whatever it takes. Most of it, 90%, I would say, maybe 95%, I don't even know how to quantify it, is God-given. You just ability. You got fast twitch or you don't. But, yeah, if Hakeem Williams all of a sudden becomes a dependable guy that has 49 catches for 800 yards next year, a lot of it will be the offense he's in. But I wouldn't dismiss or discount, some improvement that happens with the wide receivers coach too. I think that goes in every position. You can make you're a performance enhancer. That's what a position coach is. You didn't create the player. He comes with his own skills already and his own God-given ability. But you can enhance what he has, and the enhancement hasn't happened much at all this year, except with the kickers.
Yeah, that's true. Shout out JP.
Yeah, getting it done, man.
That job is severe. I just think about if Nick Saban was the head coach of the 23 Florida State team and Mike Norvell and everybody on staff was the coach of this 24 team, like what would the spread be on a neutral site? Like 23 Florida State minus 35.5
against this team?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know that even if Norvell was the coach of the 2023 team and the 2024 team, I think the spread is the same.
I'm just trying to say, humor me here. Like if Saban and everybody and his whole staff from Alabama, the all-star staff from Alabama, they're the coach of the 23 roster, and then Mike Norvell is the coach of the 24 roster. They play on a neutral site. Let's say the 23 team with Saban as that coach is a 35-point favorite. If you and me are coaching, I think maybe it drops to a pick 'em. You know, I don't think it swings. I don't think like Mike Norvell's coaching acumen swings at 50 points to where they're a 20-point favorite, because we've got the superior athletes. We have the superior talent. Just stay out of their way. Play
Why
man
would it
defense.
be a pick 'em?
Well, I don't know.
If you and I were coaching the 2023 football team,
Playing against Mike Norvell in the 24 roster.
I mean, zoo animals would be 3 touchdown favorites over if they were coaching this team. I don't understand. Like, we still got all those guys. And it's still this team. This team can't beat anyone. It can't even stay competitive with anyone anymore.
All right, that was fun. Let's keep the fun going, and let's generate discussion here, Corey. I think we could have probably done an entire show based on these questions that we're all going to bundle through. So let's get on with it. Let's fire up the cameras, and let's go ahead and after you, Corey Clark, please fire up the generator.
I keep doing it 3 times, but we know at Cummins you only need 1 pull. But still, I like just showing off the guns.
It is generating discussion. It is sparked by Cummins. Cummins Lifestyle. It's all one word. Give it a follow on Instagram. Shout out again to everybody who came out to the tailgate in South Bend last weekend. Huge turnout of Noles. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. The folks at Cummins were overwhelmed by the turnout, the joy, the festive spirit of the Florida State fans before the Notre Dame game. And then we all went home afterwards, and we don't remember what happened after that. But all we ask that you go give them a follow. Look at all the cool things. If you weren't at the tailgate, you can see all the awesome things you can do with your RV, your outdoor lifestyle when you use the Own line of products, which includes the portable generator, the portable power stations. The best question every single week gets into a drawing every month for a Cummins gift bag, T-shirts, power banks, cool things they give you. And then the end of season drawing that we're going to do probably at some point in early December, of course, since we're not going to have any other football games to discuss, sadly. But the winner of that, the grand prize, is the portable generator or a portable power station, your pick. It was hard to pick one, Corey. We had so many people asking us, but we had our guy Georgia Noles, our guy Ronye. For the next offensive defensive coordinator, would you prefer characteristics to be top 5 recruiter in the country or top 25 in the country and not so strong at recruiting? Second part of our question from our guy Mark down in Naples was, do you think Mike needs to bring in a coordinator who has run good offenses in the Power 2 or the NFL level? Our guy Bushnell, am I off for wanting a coordinator offensively that is a quarterback guru instead of a receivers or on O-line, a sort of specialty? And then our guy Owl Knoll kind of eloquently wrapped all of them up. So Owl Knoll is going to get thrown into the drawing here, Corb. It says, after reviewing the OC Hot Board 1.0, it appears the majority of names are coaches with highly productive offenses, but little or no experience recruiting the Southeast. Would you feel comfortable hiring a highly productive coordinator despite the lack of recruiting ties in the state of Florida?
Yes, but I understand it would give a lot of people pause, and I understand why. You need to make some inroads to get some of the best players in the state to come to Florida State. That has not happened with great regularity, even when you were rolling as a program. So I can understand why you'd want to bring in someone that's deemed a great Southeastern recruiter. But as we've also said, right, Aslan, we don't know exactly what that means anymore because of the money aspect. And look, if they're going to revenue sharing with all these programs, they're going to be giving $20 million to their rosters, or 10, 15 million. It's like there's like almost like a salary cap. Then yeah, maybe having someone that can make those connections, that has those connections, that has built trust with some of these these great high school programs in the state over the years would really help, because these coaches would be sending their kids to a coach where they know he's going to get production out of them, and they're going to produce at a high level and maybe get to the NFL. I think the first things first, you need a guy that runs productive offenses. Highly productive and has a history of it. After that, yeah, I would like him to be able to have proof that he can, maybe not even Florida connections, or just you've gotten some big-time high school talent and turn them into NFL players. That would be a nice number 2 or number 3 thing on the list for me.
Yeah, let's scratch these off one by one. I guess Bushnell, when he says, am I off for wanting a coordinator that's a quarterback guru instead of receivers or offensive line? I don't think so. That's probably the play. I mean, ideally, I think you hire an offensive line coach. Mike lets go of the offense completely. He brings in a coordinator. And, most high-level offensive coordinators with productive offenses, they're highly involved in the quarterback, development, recruitment. So that's what you want. I can't even think who is Kyle Flood, but it's Sark's offense at Texas. I mean, Kyle Flood's the OC in name and he's the offensive line coach, but it's Sark's offense. I can't think of any high productive offensive coordinator who's also an offensive line coach. So you're not off on wanting that. What do you think about Mark and Naples about, obviously we want a highly productive coordinator with a track record. How much does the track record need to be powered to NFL to make you feel comfortable, Corey, that Mike will hand everything over and it will be a productive offense at Florida State?
It doesn't. That's not a need. It would be a want, I guess, but it's different than a need. I don't look, man. You just got to give somebody in here that can get you to 30 points a game, because this has been absurd all season, as I've said multiple times. There's not going to be one coordinator that checks all the right boxes, that checks every single box. So I think what you need to figure out is what is the biggest box to check, and then go from there. And I think by far the biggest box to check is the one we're looking at here. I want a guy that is not just a one-year wonder that had one good offense. I want a guy that is at least proven over multiple seasons with different players that he can produce high-level offenses. And again, man, even that's not a guarantee, because the flipping head coach at Florida State was one of those guys. He had good offenses there at Arizona State. He had great offenses at Memphis. He had a good offense here, a great offense in 22, a good offense in 23. And then 2024, he produced the worst offense that's imaginable. So there's no guarantee, but I want somebody that has proven they can game plan and scheme against equal talent and put up big points and big yards. I would like it to be, yes, you want to go get Charlie Weiss Jr. from Ole Miss or somebody like that. But yes, you'd like it to be from somebody with a big boy football background, NFL, SEC, whatever. But by and large, I just want a guy that can put up points. That's the biggest box. After that, you start trying to tick off other boxes that aren't quite as important as that one, in my opinion.
53 teams at the FBS level right now are averaging 30 or more points out of 133. So Corey's not selling.
Not asking for the world, am I? I'm not asking for the world, am I, Aslan?
But you're not also, you're asking for more than average coming off an abysmal season.
Well, that's barely more than average. That's barely. How many are averaging less than 14 a game?
It kind of goes back to the, just get it better next year, and then we'll see what happens in 26. But you went from 13-1, 13-0 to whatever this is. Why can't you then springboard back up? Why does it have to be a gradual climb? Success is not a linear thing.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
No.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, you got to go get a better offense. And that's a lot of different things. You got to go get a better offensive coordinator. That's a lot of different things, a lot of different boxes to check. The good news is it can't be worse. So we don't know who the quarterback will be, don't know who the OC will be, don't know what the offensive line is going to look like, or the receivers, or even who's carrying the ball. All those are up in the air. But you got to get a guy you believe in that has proven that he knows exactly what he's looking at these positions. That would be wonderful. Exactly what he wants. He wants two Ja'Kai Douglas types. Then he wants a guy out wide that can make plays down the field. He wants a bruising running back. Whatever his vision is, that he's proven he can execute that vision more than for 2 months in 2024, but has a longer track record than that.
Weird question on the way out, Core. This answers Ronye's thing about, do you want a top 25 guy who's a awesome recruiter or a so-so coordinator who's whatever. I ruined it, but you know what Ronye said, everybody. I should go ahead and read it off the screen. Would you prefer top 5 recruiter in the country or top 25 coordinator, but not so strong at recruiting? I don't know how many coordinators are considered elite recruiters. It feels like you're either a position coach and you're a really good recruiter, or you're a head coach. People want to go play for Lincoln Riley because he's going to probably get you to the league as a quarterback. Maybe not a good example because they're struggling right now. But like looking at all these high scoring offenses, Corey, you know, Miami's number one. I don't think Shannon Dawson is looked at as being some elite recruiter. The Shanahan guy at Indiana, I don't think is looked at being a great recruiter. I don't know if Charlie Weiss really is. You're going there to play for Lane Kiffin, right? Like that's the thing. So I don't think the coordinator solves your recruiting problems. You're going to have to get that solved with really good position coaches because they're going to establish those relationships. But either the OC needs to be highly thought of as being a guy that puts guys in the league or puts points on the board, or you somehow have to be able to tie that back to Mike being that guy, because it feels like when it comes to recruiting, your mascot's your head coach or your position coach, not necessarily your coordinator.
No, I mean, throughout history, the best recruiter has been success. Like if you have a successful program or a successful offense, people want to play in that offense. And if you can get guys to the league, people want to play in that offense. And so, yeah, and again, I don't even know as we head into 2025 what a top 5 recruiter even means. And I'm not trying to pass the buck. I'm just literally, I don't know what that means because of the payment structures that are in the sport now. I just think the best recruiter is an offense that scores a bunch of points. And the worst recruiter, as we've seen, as you keep losing recruits, you lost your quarterback recruit today, although you're probably going to get another guy, or lost him on Thursday.
Maybe Carter Smith, let's go.
Sea-Dog, come home. Is that success, scoring points, getting in the end zone, winning games. Those are your best recruiters, man. Those are your best recruiters, and you can win without it. I guess I should say that. Would anybody say that Mike Norvell is one of the top 10 recruiters in the country?
I don't know. Corey, they won a bunch of games last year and scored a bunch of points and didn't recruit well off of that either.
But no, but what I'm saying is he wasn't recruiting well before that, and they were 13-0. So how much does being a top 5 recruiter matter? You get a collection of guys that can run your offense, hopefully a different offense, but you can run your offense. You have a chance to succeed and succeed wildly. Again, it comes to a lot. There's a lot of different factors other than how you are in a living room or if you got a good DM game when it comes to recruiting these days. I want a guy, again, by going back to the big overall box. The biggest box to check is your offense good? And can you teach it well? And can you get the right players for your offense and get them to execute? All that is what matters to me more than get that figured out and then start, figuring out the rest.
Hopefully one of these coordinators can power this team back to success much the way that Cummins powers people across the country, across the globe as a global power leader. Give them a follow on Instagram. It's Cummins Lifestyle. It's been generating discussion sparked by Cummins. Winkles, everybody. It's Winkles. Wake up. Mike Norvell called me, asking me to come be coordinator at FSU. I'm currently coaching at a mid-major or a mid to major university. Why should I leave to come coach for him? What's his pitch?
Oh, all right. Well, the money will help.
Next question.
I mean, look, man, I think there's a lot of pitches. Obviously, it's Florida State. I mean, I know there's some self-hating, and I'm not saying that's what's happening with this question, but there's some self-hating right now among FSU fans because of the record and because this keeps happening every 4 or 5 years. But it's Florida State, man. It rings out. That name rings out. And when you're a let's say an OC at Miami of Ohio that's averaging 36 points per game and Florida State comes calling, you're not like, oh, no, I'm gonna write it out here. You go to Florida State. Florida State is an attractive job. It's still a destination job. It pays a lot. And even if you're the most cynical guy in the world and you think Norvell's terrible, you think that and I don't know that number one, you wouldn't come work for a coach that you think is terrible. And he has a track record, a very recent track record of winning games and scoring points. So he's at least capable of putting together a good program again. So that helps. But also, man, you're guaranteed probably of, I would guess, somewhere in the neighborhood of $7.5 million, for a 3-year deal, probably somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah, man, that matters. So that makes it appealing. But also,
can you make one of these guys like the second highest paid offensive coordinator in college football?
But yeah, I guess. Who's number one?
That's a good
question. Do we even know?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you can. I mean, you're already throwing a lot of money at this problem. You throw more money as long as you believe in the person you're throwing the money at. But it's like Florida State shouldn't have to sell itself that hard. Like maybe to an SEC OC, sure, they're going to stay where they are. But everywhere else, man, Florida State, the last OC before this one, and this guy, remember, was not really running the offense. The last guy that actually did run the offense at Florida State is now the head coach at fucking Arizona State. Like, it's not only good money, it's a ladder climbing job. So there's a lot of appeal, and think about Dillingham, man. He wasn't even that great at Florida State. He has 1 year at Oregon, and then he's the head coach at Arizona State. The stuff at Florida State did matter, though. What Jordan Travis ended up being did matter in the people at Arizona State.
Jordan Travis and Bo Nix, he reclamated
that's
both
great.
those guys.
But that was 1 year removed from being the OC at Florida State. He was then the head coach at Arizona State. So I don't know how many times people go from the OC at Miami of Ohio to 2 years later being the head coach at a Pac-12/Big 12 school. I'm assuming not often. This is a destination job. It is a very appealing job. You're not going to learn. You're not going to lose out to mid majors. Now, SEC, Big Ten, understood. They can throw more money at the problem than anyone. But everyone else, you're the first dog eating at the bowl when it comes to these guys.
So I think there's 13 million men that were making more money than Alex Atkins this past year.
13 million?
13 men.
Oh.
13 men making more money than Alex Atkins this year, including Marcus Satterfield in Nebraska, who got demoted and is now just coaching the tight ends.
Yikes.
Mike Bobo made more money than Alex Atkins.
Yep.
But
that's good money. That's money being well spent, Kirby.
Yeah, the highest paid coordinators, offense coordinators, Mike Denbrock from Notre Dame. He's making $2.1 million.
Yeah, so you can't really compete with that.
Andy Ludwig from Utah, according to Football Scoop, is the second highest paid coordinator at $1.85.
I mean, look, man, Utah's not in the Big Ten either. If Utah can pay that kind of money, I'm assuming Florida State will be somewhere in that neighborhood. Not saying you want to go get that guy. I mean, it's not his fault that Cam Rising keeps coming back to school to not play. So
one of the
can't even
names,
get a quarterback.
One of the names on the hot board was either made $745 last year or he's making $745 this year.
But it was not our guy at UNLV.
Correct.
Yeah. But again, you can double that.
Yeah, and that's reasonable. I find I don't know. I don't want to call it the height of insanity, but like if you're going to go after somebody and make them like the highest or the second highest paid offensive coordinator in the country, obviously at that point it's their offense. They're calling all the shots.
Yeah.
And I guess if they fix it, then they might be worth it. But I just don't know who's out there that
think
you can
about
feel that
too,
confident
man.
about.
But you think about that, like another thing that makes it appealing is like I think Ira was talking about this on Headlines. You know how they always say you don't want to be the guy to replace the legend. You want to be the guy that replaces the guy that replaced the legend.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be DeBoer following Nick Saban. You want to be the guy that follows DeBoer if he falls on his face. Yeah. Well, gosh darn, man. Like, think about an OC that believes in who he is and what he does in his vision and his offense and all that. He gets to go to Florida State with all those resources, and all he has to do is try to improve on 13.3 points per game. Legitimately, he is taking over the worst offense in the country. It is a win-win. He can't do worse. Even if he averages 27 points per game, which would be like 80th in the country, he's doubled the output. And he looks like a genius in his bio. Took Florida State from 13.3 points per game and immediately averaged 14 more points per game in his first year with the Seminoles. Like, that's a great thing to have on a resume. So that makes it appealing. Like, you're not taking over you're not taking over at Washington, where they're used to scoring 40 a game. You're taking over the worst offense in the country, so you can't go wrong.
Isn't that almost analogous with going from Walt Bell to Kendall Briles? Like, it was so horrible under Walt Bell that Kendall Briles felt like awesome, but Kendall Briles still was not good enough.
Kendall was average, but it was so much better than what had come the year before that it made him look like a genius.
Yeah.
And clearly isn't a genius.
That
but
might
he's
make
good.
that might make the coordinator sleep better at night. But is that going to make this fan base feel any better at night?
I'm just saying it even broadens your horizons of who you could get. Like, makes it even. It's just one more thing that makes it a little more appealing.
I got it. Another thing that makes the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill appealing is Corey Clark's presence.
Right.
In addition to the awesome menu of delicious food options, daily lunch specials from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., daily happy hour from 4 to 7 p.m., and then all day Sunday when you watch your NFL, Whoever your favorite team is, they will be on a monitor at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. You could even ask somebody who works there to put your favorite team on a specific monitor, perhaps, Corey.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to figure that out in record time to get your viewing right on track and make you feel good. Watch your favorite team, get a cold beverage, happy hour, Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Happy hour coming up this Friday, meet and greet happy hour. Jeff Cameron, Corey Clark, Tom Lang usually in the mix. Gene Williams usually heads up there.
Well, next Friday.
Next Friday, yeah, sorry. Yeah, as you're listening to this, do not go. Well, you go up there anyways.
Go up there, man. Go up there and have fun.
Don't expect to see Jeff and Corey at a table shaking your hand. But that'll be next Friday. But in the meantime, go to the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, cptallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Physical address. Put that in a GPS, kids. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant. It's presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, promo code warchantbogo. Buy one, get one free. Bradley Moss, Corey. Do you feel that now to win a national championship, you need to have a veteran and or veteran transfer quarterback to have any chance at all? Also, do you think college football is moving to the NBA super team model where elite players will align and join a team for a year just to try to win it all?
I don't know about either of those, honestly. We're just too young into this. I mean, I feel like if a Jameis came along as a redshirt freshman, he could still win you a championship. And as far as the super team, I do think that will be something that happens where guys from different schools there's like maybe 5 guys that are around the country that want to go play at Ohio State because they have all this talent come back, or a great quarterback they want to go play with. That's fine. I think the difference, though, is in the NBA, there's a finite amount of great all-star, all-pro type players, right? Like, there's only, 400 in the whole league. So there's probably 50 that are just awesome basketball players. And, yeah, when they join up, it seems unfair. It's not fun maybe for the rest of the league. And they call them a super team. I don't think you could do that in college football because there's just so many good players. Like, there's good players everywhere, great players everywhere. So not one or two teams could hog all the talent because there's just so much talent all across the country. It's infinite, really, as opposed to the NBA where there's, I don't know, was there 15 guys on the all-NBA team?
Yeah.
And there's obviously a lot better players than that. But, yeah, I don't think you have to worry about that with college football because there's always going to be a lot of good players to go around.
But those highly elite, proven pieces might flock to one. But it's all about how much money you have and whether you're willing to spend it. I mean, Ohio State went all in on this season. Will they have the same appetite if they don't win the national title this year? Like
I'm going to guess.
You think so?
Will. Yeah, it's Ohio State. They take their football pretty seriously. I think they're always going to want to have a really good team.
I do too. I don't know. I guess I can't put myself in. I can't imagine being rich beyond.
Right.
I mean,
and that's the problem, Aslan. You got to
rich.
manifest it. You got to manifest it. You got to just start pretending you're rich and acting like you're rich.
But it's like, to do what these guys are going to be doing all across the country, you got to be beyond rich. But there's a lot of men around the country that are beyond rich that really love their college football team, and they'll keep throwing money at it.
Think about this, man. What does it cost? This is something I want to look up. What does it cost to have seats right behind home plate for Yankees games? Season tickets.
I don't know. I mean, you're the baseball guy, man. That's your account.
I would guess for those seats, like where they come and give you your own food and they take your order and come back and bring it to you. All, those seats I'm talking about, like right behind home plate. Yeah. I'm guessing we're talking like for 4 seats for a season, maybe $250,000 for season tickets, maybe $500,000. I mean, who knows? It's a lot of money. It's definitely into the 6 figures. I can promise you that. Like. People spend their money how they want to spend their money. To me, that's asinine. And you look at those Yankees games, even in the World Series, there's empty seats. During a game in May at Yankee Stadium, half the seats behind home plate, nobody's sitting in them because they're too damn expensive. But there are people that will spend gobs of money to be that close to Yankee Stadium. So on the same token, there are people that will spend gobs of money to try to help the team they care for the most have really good players. It's not maybe how I'd spend all my money, but I understand it. I understand how people want to pay for something that gives them joy. And watching Florida State football win games gives them a lot of joy. They think they can help, so they want to spend the money.
I'm trying to figure this out. So
I tried to talk long enough.
Well, the only tickets available behind home plate for Yankees games are It's an aisle seat and then a seat right beside it. And if you get the aisle seat, you have to get the seat beside it. So you have to buy 2 of them. So I've selected them, but I can't add it to my cart.
I bet they don't even have the price. I bet you have to like talk to someone.
Yeah, it says I got to sign in. I'm not doing that. So yeah, I don't know. But it shows, I mean, there's tickets there that the smallest, the least amount of price is $2,500 for a season ticket to the Yankees, and there's one that goes all the way up to like $24,000 just for like a singular seat. But I don't think that can't be true. It would be way more than $24,000 for 81 games or whatever.
So it looks like the VIP seats at Yankee Stadium are $4,000 a game.
Okay, do the math, kids.
Jeez Louise. But hey, you get to see him not win the World Series every year.
All right, let's go to this one. This one's kind of heavy. Of course, it's random_John. First off, he's really excited about the basketball team. Fun to watch. They score more than the old team. May not make it to the tournament, but we won't be a joke. After the last few years, I'm having fun watching them again.
And you know what else, real quick, as we touch on basketball, because they host the Gators on Friday night, tonight. They do play hard. I just want to keep reiterating that. They don't shoot the ball well. They're gonna make you crazy with all the shots they miss. But they play really hard, and they're long, and they seem to like playing with each other, but I don't even care if they like playing with each other. They suffocate. They try to defend as hard as they can. Now, obviously, Florida's a huge step up in competition, but I just like how active and long and defensive-minded they seem to be. It's like an old-school Ham team.
Is that coaching or players, Corey?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know how Ham likes to coach, but yeah, it's I think, you know what it is, Aslan, honestly? I know you were joking, but, like, it's the type of people you start bringing in again.
Yeah.
Like, some guys just care about getting shots off and scoring, and if whatever happens on the other end happens on the other end, you go get a guy that is just angry when somebody scores on them. Those are guys you want to build a team around.
Yeah. And you might have some guys that care about veneers and vroom vroom instead of grabbing guys and tackling them or going over the middle and catching passes. But I digress. Random_John says, what does Mike Alford do if the football team has another abysmal season next year? What moves could he actually afford to make?
Yeah, the afford to make is, by the way, go read the multiple stories, right? The Ira stuff with Michael Alford. I thought all that was good. Yeah. Talking about the football team and then just, NIL and the future of the sport moving forward. It's really good, and it's an exclusive. So go read it.
Exclusive.
It's a great question because let's just, for the sake of argument, let's say next year they play Kent State and Texas A&M Commerce, so they're starting with 2 wins. We hope. So let's say they have another bad year though, they go 4-8. Clearly, you don't think Norvell is the right guy for the job, and how could you? 6 wins in 2 years? Are you kidding me? But it comes back to what can he afford to do? Again, I think that buyout would then be $55 million. Your stadium will be done. You're still building your IPF, I guess, or the football facility, I guess, will be done. But you still got to pay for all that. It's not like it's all paid for. And you're trying to get out of a conference, and you might have to pay the conference that you're leaving. Plus, you're going to want new players, and you're going to want, you know what I mean? Like it's so much money that if they have another bad season where the fan base just gives up on football, well, that's an issue too. That's why I'm saying, like, and I would understand if everybody did. Like, if he goes 4-8 next year, I would understand how nobody would buy season tickets in 2026. Nobody's going to give money in 2026 to this guy so he can continue to essentially steal money from everyone by winning 3 and 4 games a year, which is what it would look like to me if I was paying. And my wife has season tickets, so it's my money too now. I always say that I get paid to go to the games. Well, no, the Clark family is now paying to go to games, and I would be very, very upset at 4-8. And I think a lot of people would have to think long and hard about, okay, I'm not going to support this anymore. As much as you love your team, you can't support this anymore. It's not fun to get your head kicked in every week. So it becomes the calculus of okay, can we afford to fire him and pay him that money? Can we afford to not fire him and just lose our entire fan base? So that's why it's so imperative that you go, instead of having to spend $70 million or $80 million in buyouts next year, which you would if you fired the whole staff, including the head coach, it's so imperative to spend whatever you think you have to spend. It doesn't guarantee anything, but price cannot be a factor when it comes to these coaching hires. It can't be. You have to get this right. You have to. There's no guarantee you will. Nothing is a slam dunk in this world, except an actual slam dunk. But you have to get this right because you can't afford not to get it right. Because then you are an absolute crossroads where all the roads are on fire if you go 4-8 next year. So you can't come to a crossroad where everything is on fire. You have to get it right.
All right, that's a good transition to the next question, which is FSU 7372. Thanks for giving us your bank pin, sucker. Morning, boys. Simple question. Does the timing of this debacle have any influence on our success of getting out of this conference? Alford can say the brand is still the brand, all he wants, but that sounds to me like Jerry Jones touting that the Dallas Cowboys are the most valuable franchise in sports, while its last Super Bowl win was 30 years ago. Fans don't care. We've been painted as bad colleagues nationally. Who wants to jump out and grab a 1-9 team? I don't know.
Yeah,
1-9 hurts, but what helps are, I guess, the commas and all the numbers behind and in front of them when Florida State's on television, and then adding that to your conference, like I guess the Big Ten, right? Because SEC already has a Florida footprint. Big Ten adds you; they can then get more money, carriage fees from providers in the state of Florida. So.
Well, also the Big Ten. If you look at it this year, I don't know that their ratings have been astronomical for their Big Noon Saturdays. It will be. I think they got a good one. Oh, they got a good one. Is it this week or next week, Indiana and Ohio State? That'll be a big one.
I think that's next week.
Maybe, it might be a big one. I don't know how much the college football world is really invested in Indiana. So right now, the Big Ten has 4 of the top 5 teams in the college football playoff rankings. But one is Indiana, and we don't think that's sustainable. I could be completely wrong. They might be a new superpower. But I doubt Indiana is sustainable. So you have Ohio State, Oregon. Those 2 are locked and loaded. Michigan is up in the air. I mean, I know they just won a national championship, but they're 5-5. You don't know if that coach is going to work out. They're in the conference. I get it. They're not. It's not like they're going to be relegated. But what I'm saying is the Big Ten still needs a couple more big boy schools. I think personally, it would be very appealing to them. No, it does not help at all when you go 1-9. It just doesn't. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat that and say, yeah, that doesn't matter at all. It probably matters a little, but the analogy about Jerry Jones talking about the Cowboys, well, yeah, the Cowboys, the fans don't want to hear it. The fans don't care about how big your brand is. But I tell you this, if the Cowboys decided they were going to take a couple years off, the NFL would absolutely care. The Cowboys make a ton of money for the NFL.
And
the NFL makes a ton of money off the Cowboys. So does ESPN. They would lose half their programming if they couldn't talk about Dak Prescott. So they trust me, the Cowboys are a huge brand. They make a ton of money for that league, even though they haven't won a Super Bowl in 30-something years or whatever. I guess it's right at 30 years or close to it, which is crazy. For as much as we hear about that stupid franchise, and they haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years. No, I think that's a little short-sighted to just view it as this one season is killing them. Because just last year they were 13-0 and brought in huge numbers in a conference that doesn't have other good teams in it. So Florida State, again, it has to take some forethought. It has to take some forward thinking. But if you're running the Big Ten and you know that, okay, if we get Florida State fully operational again, they're not going to go 1-9 every year. Next year they could be 8-1. They could be playing Ohio State. They're the number 7 team in the country. Ohio State's the number 2 team in the country. That would get massive ratings. A lot bigger ratings than Ohio State, Indiana, in my opinion, like by millions of viewers. That's appealing. Florida State is appealing. It is still a brand, even with this debacle. This doesn't help, but, 13-0 wasn't that far in the rearview mirror.
I feel like we're Warren Buffett and we're Berkshire Hathaway right now because amidst a recession, downturn, 2008, we're still a profitable company, right? Like if anything, the silver lining is that even when this team is this terrible, everybody still shows up. So this happens like once every 40 years at this university, that you're this horrible. And you'll get out of it because you're committed to getting out of it, and you still bring eyeballs to the TV set. So I was like, all right. It's like buying a house in Sarasota right now on the water. Like, all right, it got battered, got beat up by a storm, but it happened once every 100 years. So let's just take advantage of it now. Hop in here while it's really enticing. Build the house of your dreams right there on the Gulf of Mexico, boys and girls. At least that's what
don't you think, though, like Florida State and Clemson, like I would like them to be more attached at the hip than they seem to be, because I think that's a great tandem to be, because Clemson's been Clemson for the last decade. Florida State's been, look, even though it's been a struggle, I would say they're one of the top 5 programs of the last 40 years in this sport.
Oh, yeah.
I would think it's very short-sighted now for like Ole Miss fans to be puffing out their chests at the expense of Florida State, man. Again, Ole Miss has done nothing in this sport for 60 years. Florida State is one of the kings of this sport, literally, because they've lifted championships. And so I think that, again, there is some self-hate that comes with when you're this bad, and it's warranted. But I think the rest of the country, even with this season, has more of the correct perspective of what Florida State is than maybe people that are so close to it that only feel the dread. Because again, Florida State that's an appealing property. It's a very, very, and the state helps. You're in Florida. That really helps from a marketing perspective if you're thinking about a Big Ten wanting to make a move.
Ole Miss, by the way, has 684 wins in their program history. Florida State 582. So
I mean, come on, Aslan.
I mean, why got to talk about Ole Miss? Why got to talk about Ole Miss?
Because let's do conference championships and national championships.
I don't have that data in front of me.
Okay, perfect.
That's crazy. Like Utah State, Washington State, Baylor, South Carolina, Purdue.
Yeah, I would say it's the teams that have been playing football since 1908.
Yeah.
They're all going to have a pretty substantial win margin over Florida State.
We're ahead of you. We're tied with UMass right now, by the way, at 582.
Buddy,
so let's get that.
So they're
dub
about to get
over
ahead.
Charleston
They're about to
Southern.
notch ahead of them. Yeah.
So let's go, Noles. All right, a couple more questions to get to. One final break. Coming right back after this. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Promo code is warchantbogo. Buy one, get one free. Do it. Pensacola. Wake up, friends. When DJ was injured, Corey had said that the rest of the season was basically an interview period for Brock and Luke in order to see what we had for next year. Is there any reason not to try Trever Jackson? How has he looked at practice? I assume he's been mostly scout team, but wasn't he a 4-star recruit? And speaking of DJ, his injury, do you believe that he is still injured, or is he in a cast to make it seem like he's injured instead of benched? Thanks, guys. I'll keep sipping my Mood Plus in the meantime. Thank you, Pensacola, for doing that.
Thank you very much. And, yeah, he's definitely injured.
Yes.
That is not a fake. That is a real injury that required medical attention. Lots of it.
I'm going to go on a limb, Corey. I haven't seen practice all week, so sue me, Florida State. I think he's going to play in another game this year.
DJ?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
And I think we should all be excited if he does.
I mean, I feel like after seeing this debacle over the last month, I think he probably gives you the best chance to beat Florida, which isn't much of one. But again, because the offense is doing worse now than it was with him, not by much, because he wasn't doing anything either, but he could hit a couple throws a game. I guess that's what he was doing that these guys aren't doing. But yeah, you're running the ball better now, Aslan, without DJ. So
that's true. And you're playing better teams. You're playing better, right? You play better teams since he's been out too. So
yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, And when it comes to Trever Jackson, no, there is, in my opinion, there isn't a reason to not play him. I'd like to see what that kid has, honestly. These other guys have gotten chances. I know, they're higher up on the depth chart. They were higher recruited, or they certainly were higher recruited because they're actually scholarship athletes. But yeah, Trever Jackson could have been a scholarship quarterback somewhere. And in fact, when this House resolution passes or whatever, and they go to 105 players, I'm sure he would be one of the scholarship players. He would no longer be a walk-on, but they'd want to keep him on the team, so he becomes a scholarship player. So by my count, by my estimation, he is a scholarship quarterback. and I absolutely would see what he could do. Not because I think he's going to be the next great one, but because I want to see what I got. Just let me see something else for a couple series. Let me see if it looks any different.
Last question. Preston Parker.
Oh, old PP.
What's up, Preston? Remember he was like a thespian? I think he was like a drama guy. Like, and that was part of his draw to Florida State, if I'm not mistaken. Like
Preston Parker?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
He liked the drama department at Florida State.
All right.
What a playmaker. What I would do for Preston Parker.
He was. I remember, I was just thinking about this the other day.
Rich man's Ja'Kai Douglas?
Absolutely. But also, and that's a good comparison because of what I was about to say. There was a game late it was Jimbo's first year, so the 2007 season, where they were out of running backs. Like, Anton was hurt, somebody else was hurt. And so they moved Preston Parker to running back. And I think he has like 5 carries for 60 yards on the first drive, scores from like a 25 yards out, a great run where he sees the hole, he hits the hole very violently, and runs for a touchdown. And Rick Trickett's reaction, Rick Trickett never got all that excited. He was genuinely fired up and went over there and smacked him on the butt, celebrated with him as if to say, yeah, now that we finally got a running back that runs like that, all of a sudden our offensive line looks better and our running game looks better. And it's like, man, I just remember that. That dude was and he wasn't even a running back. He was a wide receiver playing running back, but he was just a straight-up football player. He was really, really good.
2007 Maryland, 1 catch, 21 yards, 20 carries, 133, and a touchdown.
Yeah, can you see the box score? I think he scored a touchdown early on in that game.
Let's see here. Nole fan.
I'm going to say 23-yard run, but that could be wrong.
18-yard run to pull ahead 14-3. Drew Weatherford, 1-yard touchdown run to get the scoring started.
Yeah, there you go. So, exciting stuff.
Darius
but yeah, it was awesome to watch. It was awesome to watch that guy.
Yeah. Looking back on it now, Preston Parker asks, at what point in spring or fall practice did you start to become concerned in regards to the offense? Well, I'm not gonna try to save face here. I don't know. Maybe going into the Memphis game, like after the Boston College game, it seemed like that was 2 games or maybe it was after the Memphis game where I totally gave up. I don't know about I mean, I was concerned at halftime against Boston College, but to where you thought that you were staring at maybe one of the worst offenses in the country, like probably after the Memphis game, or maybe the Cal game. To be honest with you, even though you won that game, it just seemed like you just needed like a borderline miracle to pull off a game. And at that point, it was like, uh-oh.
I would say, honestly, it was halftime of the BC game for me. I think that was right after he missed Williamson wide open in the end zone by 8 yards. I think you had 3 points or 6 points after just scoring 2 touchdowns the game before. You'd also had, 8 days off, 9 days off. Not off, like you're still practicing.
That was Boston College's first game of the year, too.
Yeah, and you looked worse than you did the week before. And it's like, okay, that was not just a one-game anomaly where they only had 7 possessions. This offense just isn't any good. I think definitely by the Memphis game the next week. But, yeah, here's the thing. I'll just keep explaining this. When you're watching practice, the way they structure practice, they weren't making any incredible plays, but they were making some plays. And so you can't look at because again, Keon would make a catch once a week maybe. Other than that, it wasn't like he was doing a ton in practice. It was in the games. In the way they practice, the first team offense will run 3 plays and then leave. The next offense comes in, runs 3 plays and leaves. They don't ever sustain drives. Maybe that's something he can change in practice, where the first team offense actually runs 10 straight plays together. That'd be something I'd suggest. But then again, he didn't do it in 2023, and they weren't great offensively, but they were good enough. But yeah, so when you're watching these practices, it's hard to be like, God, this just isn't going to work, because they were ripping runs up the middle in practice. In August, I'm talking about. They did look like they'd have a good running game. Kyle Morlock was literally catching everything.
Yeah. Over the middle, 15, 20 yards downfield, darts.
20-yard sideline, back shoulder stuff, man. Like, he was making every contested catch you could think of. And he looked like he was going to be an NFL tight end, like a real weapon. and just didn't. And also, you don't know how the pass rush is going to affect the quarterback because they're wearing green. And they know they're not getting tackled, so you don't know about happy feet. You don't know about staring at the rush. You don't know about rolling to the right or just taking sacks because that's never happening in practice. So I would say, I knew we had a pretty good suspicion it wasn't going to be as good as last year. We were hoping the run game would be so much better that it would put up similar numbers to last year. But once we saw the first game in Dublin, in the last 6 drives of that game and how they just couldn't run at all, and then the first half against BC where it was more of the same, you're like, yeah, this offense isn't going to be great. But it was the game stuff we watched, not so much the practice, in my opinion.
When are you going to bring up how many more headlines episodes before you bring up your comment you made to Ira in Dublin after the game about, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, but we might have to start asking ourselves what this offense looks like without Jordan Travis.
Oh, did I say that in Ireland?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and you were quickly shot down.
Oh, right. Well, look, man, I'm not like Shane Beamer.
Big media trying to censor the voices out there. Big media and Irish O'Fell and his ivory tower of managing editor position.
Well, I think what his
I'm kidding. I love you, Ira.
But I think his counter wasn't necessarily, no, this offense is going to be great. He's like, well, you could say that about any offense that loses a great quarterback. Yeah. It's not just Jordan Travis specific. You need a good quarterback to have a good offense, which is mostly true. But again, we are now.
I just didn't think it was broken though. Like I feel like I feel like you sense it could be broken in Dublin. I didn't. I just thought that they kind of took Georgia Tech for granted. I mean, listen, you fall on this one fumble, you make this one other kick or something like that, or you block their kickers. It did not feel anything close to we're staring down the barrel of potential disaster. And I don't think you weren't ringing any alarms, but you had some concerns. And then, I never got to the point where I thought this thing was completely broken until probably like I said, the Cal game. I'm just like, this is crazy. They cannot possibly be this bad. Yeah, something's going to click at some point, and then I don't know. You get to game 5, and you're like, well, no, nothing is going to click.
Yeah. I think the ball off Morlock's face mask was that's when, because even then they're down by 5 and they have the ball. At SMU, it's only I think it's 21-16, right? Am I wrong? Or 21-9? Maybe it's 21-9. Yeah, you got that safety. So it's 21-9, but you're starting the second half with the ball. You're about to hit a 25-yard play. You're going to be at midfield in one play against a team that's still not quite sure how good they are. They're feeling good, but if you score there's going to be some real game pressure on a young quarterback in a young program to try to oh God, we can't blow this against Florida State. And you're just coming off a win. But instead of having first down at midfield, 21-9, going in maybe to score, instead it hits off his face mask and it's 28-9, one play later. And the game is over, and then essentially that's when the season ended. Because they fought hard against Clemson, fine. They didn't get blown out against Miami, fine. But that's when you knew, okay, this thing is irredeemable.
It was 14-9 at that point. Corey.
That's right. So that made it 21-9. Yeah, you're right in the game. Yeah. You have a chance to go take the lead, and instead you're down by 2 scores. You get down by another score, and then blah blah blah. So that was the bad part. And that's when I was like, okay, this season is completely off the rails. Was really kind of that one play. It was just indicative of the whole season. I'm not putting it all on Morlock. It's certainly far more than him, but that's when you just kind of lost all hope that this thing could get turned around. But when it comes to the Jordan Travis thing, it wasn't just reactionary because of one game. I was also going back to the Louisville game and the Florida game from the year before. Well, and quite frankly, every game they've ever had where Jordan Travis wasn't the quarterback. Yeah. Since Mike Norvell's been here.
Tate Rodemaker, Jacksonville State. Anything else in 2020? Chuba.
McKenzie Milton
James
against
Blackman.
Jacksonville State. Yeah. McKenzie Milton against NC State. McKenzie Milton against whoever. Chuba, Tate, now Brock, now Luke. He has not proven he can win with anyone not named Jordan. Not even win. Can't even have almost a functional offense. So that was my concern after that game. It's okay, you don't have a guy necessarily that can get you out of bad plays, that can keep plays alive, that can keep drives alive. You've kind of got a pedestrian quarterback for the first time in, since McKenzie Milton. And McKenzie wasn't a pedestrian until he got hurt, but he had been hurt. He was not the same. And I was worried how it would look moving forward with a pedestrian quarterback. But it was also because of what I'd seen at the end of the year before.
Yeah, man. First play of that second half against SMU was a 6-yard run by Toafili, and then you set up like probably a 15-yard, 20-yard.
More, I mean, maybe, yeah, at least 15, probably more than that. Yeah. And instead, they have the ball at like your 8, and the game is over. So that was a tough, because you're feeling okay because you're coming off your first win. You're still in the game even though you haven't played well. You get the ball first. You got that crazy safety right before the end of the first half. Yeah. You're like, okay, you're going to put real game pressure on them. You're about to be ahead of them, and let's see how they handle that. And instead, they're up by 2 scores, and then they're starting to do the mock war chant. Which, hey, man, if nothing else, Mike, get this thing fixed so Florida State fans don't have to have the indignity of hearing that 8 times a year. For heaven's sake, man. Good grief. When's the last time Florida State didn't win a game on the road in an entire season? I'm going to guess 1975. Like, this is all absurd. So pour money into this thing and get it fixed.
I mean, when you say things like, I just want to leave for the weekend, but then you say things like that, I have to look it up. No, they beat Houston last game of the season on the road in 75.
So I'm going to guess maybe all 5 of their wins in 76 were maybe 2020. Did they win a game on the road in 2020?
They won a game they beat North Texas State in 76, 21-20.
Oh, that's right. That was the snow game. So 2020 maybe. They beat North Carolina at home. They beat Jacksonville State at home and Duke at home.
Yeah.
That's a weird year. So the only non-COVID year, the last non-COVID year where they didn't win a game on the road was the year they went winless. So that's what we're dealing with. They just went an entire college football season without one road win. And they might not have but one win. We don't know. They only got one home win. So it's not like there's a lot to choose from. But this is all ridiculous. And it needs to be fixed. This is crazy. This is crazy. That's like Chevy Chase and this is crazy, this is crazy, this is crazy before he jumps into the pool with Christy Brinkley. Old school reference, guys. Great movie. Go watch it.
In 74, they lost at Kansas in week 3, 40-9.
Yeah.
But then 2 weeks later, going to Tuscaloosa and hang with the number 2 team in the country, they fall 8-7.
Wow. Huh. Wouldn't it be cool if this team could only lose to Alabama by a point? Wouldn't you feel uplifted? It wouldn't mean anything because clearly that team wasn't turning it around. When did they cash it in? Can you look at their schedule and see? So they lose to Alabama 8-7. I assume the scores get progressively worse after that? Where they just give in? You can tell they're cashing in their chips.
Next week they lose by 10 to Florida. They lose by 32 to Auburn.
Yeah.
28 to Memphis State.
Yeah.
Beat the Canes in Miami, 21-14.
No, which year is this?
74.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of their winless season, the 73 season.
No, yeah. They they won an away game in this one. Yeah, you got to go back to 73 because they didn't win any games that year, as you said.
Great.
Yeah, all right.
Glad we figured that out. That's awesome.
We're done, but we're never done over at warchant.com. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock. Hot board. Maybe we'll have a hot board 1.1, or would it be 2.0 over the weekend? We'll see how it goes. I'm sure their defensive coordinator is also at the front of the dome.
Yeah.
We're working on sourcing all that stuff over at warchant.com. The War Room's got all sorts of nuggets in there that you want to dive into. Again, if you're not a member, we get it, but this is a great time to join. So much is going on at Florida State. Obviously, all sports, but namely football. 1 week, $1, and then 50% off an annual membership. So do that. And again, as we said, if you already have a membership, sign up for another one and then give it to somebody for Christmas so they can stop bogarting your account.
Amen, brother. Amen.
So he's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.